Hi, folks. It's another glorious day. Um, Getting towards end of September in New Brunswick, Canada, and you are here with your humble homesteader friend. And today, I want to show you a little bit around the property. That is to say that um, the buildings, the main building and the structures sit on a, you see the leaves are coming down and you can maybe hear them. Sit on about 10 acres of land, forested land, and this will be a quick tour. Quick because whereas if we were to be on a beautiful fall leaf colors, if we were to be on a clear pasture, cleared field land, I could easily show you the entire place, the entire 10 acres, maybe in just one shot. Whereas I really prefer this forested woodlot because I just love the forest, the smell of it, the smell of the decaying leaves, cellulose, the, this, just the soil, the dirt. I mean, dirt sounds dirty, but the soil and the uncontaminated. And when I'm out in the forest, it takes me hours. And to be honest, I don't think I've ever walked the 10 acres before. I'm thinking now, and I don't think I have. So it takes forever, which is fine by me, to walk the forest. And one reason you can't see right now is because every year as the trees come down and branches fall off, because not every tree falls down, but white birches in particular lose their branches, and sometimes even aspen poplars. So one of the things I have to do is go around and collect them off the forest floor and make little circles around the trees I like that are hardwood, like maple, and birches, oaks, whatever. So um, for a couple of reasons. One is that, so I'll just show you just two branches that are down from a white birch. And white birch loses its branches. That's as part of its defense mechanism, so that if it breaks off and it falls off, then it means that the wind isn't gonna snap off a big branch down instead of little branches. There's a wild apple tree growing here. I say wild because I mean we do use it to make, you can make cider vinegar, brilliant for that. Or when they're at this stage, you could graft them to make many different kinds of apples. You can't grow apple trees from seeds. I mean, maybe you could, but it won't be the apple that you think that you're planting. And so anyway, the one on the right is dead. I have to cut that off, I think. Yeah, I might even be able to push it off. Yeah, can you hear that sound? Yeah, it's dry and hard. So I need to cut that off. And so the one on the left, which is alive, can survive. But apple trees need a lot of pruning. I can't believe I didn't see this so close to the house. And so apple trees, any fruit tree really shouldn't be this height. This is about 20, 30 feet tall. And they should be shorter, and they should spread out sideways rather than going up for harvesting or whatever. There's a shot of a white ash. I'm trying to not trip over any roots. You can see it's lost all of its leaves there, and I guess it's a late bloomer, so it has its leaves later than any other tree, but at the same time, it also loses its trees earlier than other trees. In many parts of Canada, the emerald ash beetle has decimated them, so we're lucky to still have ours here. One reason is because it's a colder climate where we live, and so um, uh, many of these insects don't get to make it out here. You can see straight ahead is a and right above us, right above this whole bunch of trees are poplar aspen, sometimes known as trembling aspen or trembling poplar. The reason for that is that you can see how the leaves are like sort of like silver dollars, if you know what they look like. They're just waving through the in the air with the breeze. And the reason for that is that um, on their stems, what attaches the leaf to the branch, there's a groove, and that groove gets um, catches the wind, and just like as if you're hand waving back and forth. And they're really pretty when you see them do that on. It doesn't matter if it's a blue sky or a cloudy sky, especially when the leaves are turning. It's as if they're dancing, and it's I love it. And but most people think of them as useless trees because they're the softest of the hardwood trees. But the pioneers, when they arrived here 200-300 years ago, there were so many of these that they used them to build their log cabins out of. Down here we have a lot of strawberry, sorry, raspberry shoots, and they're completely organic. We don't spray here, but there's an abundance. This year was a good year for raspberries. Here's a branch of that same aspen that's fallen down, and where has it? I'm looking up to see where it's come down from. I can't really see, and I don't want to point the camera in the direction of the sun and blind you. But anyway, let's continue on our short walk. Yeah, so you can see I'm piling these branches up. Some people call these like this the style of what I'm doing frost walls, and because they used to do this because this would have stopped the frost movement in the spring and fall, and so the idea is to protect your crop by doing this. So they would catch the movement of the frost coming down a higher elevation. Uh, the trees that we have all around us are way too close to each other. We have around the house, if I mentioned before, we have something like it's really too hard to count. Maybe 100,000 trees just on the 20, 30 feet away from the house, and that's way too many. They need to have a good 6 to 10 feet minimum um, space apart. Uh, uh, just to give you an example of how close. Look at that little tree that snapped off from the one next to it. They're only maybe an inch away from each other, and so here's a poor apple tree trying to grow, and now the reason why you see that it growing as it has, and it's actually fused, if you can see, fused with the tree next to it, which is a completely different species. That's an aspen, and the maples started leaning on it some time ago, and now it's become almost one tree. They're doing oh, what is that? Yoga pose. When you're on one leg and you wrap your leg around it. Anyway, it'll come to me. There's an old um, what is that? Let me see if I can zoom. I don't know how to zoom, so it's not good. I think it's a spruce tree, that big one there, and what's on it is called old man's beard or usnia, and that's telling its age. So I don't know how much longer that would be up, but just looking, just looking around, you can see how close some of these trees are. So I would say 2/3 of the trees that are here really shouldn't be. If the other ones are to grow optimally, I mean they are growing as you can see. Let's count from what's on the viewfinder. I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 trees growing there, where it should be maybe two. Apple trees need a lot of pruning. This is a almost it's spidered, and I have pruned it. This year was a bad year for apples, not just here but other people's properties. But it's too tall and too many of them growing. You basically just want um, one trunk, one base, and that's maybe has a diameter of 2 feet or so, and then really just only a handful of branches. But when I started pruning this tree in spring, you can only pretty much do 20% of a haircut a year, or else you'll kill it. It'd be too much for it. Oh yeah, this is what I was talking about, the frost wall. So some people call these frost walls, but you can call them whatever you like. There's habitat in there. Sometimes wild turkeys, you know, other things that becomes a habitat for them. The other things start to live there, which is brilliant to think that I'm tidying up the forest so you can actually walk. When we do our nature walks or forest walks here, or forest bathing, if it wasn't for me having done that, you wouldn't be able to walk 10 feet. And I may be able to show you a space where that has happened, and it's very cumbersome to walk. We planted oaks. There's 4 oaks don't grow here, so I thought there were 4 here. I'm seeing 1, 2, 3. I don't know if you can see them, and they're doing well. So we're planting oaks and whatever we can, but you see how I've collected these, but it looks like a dinosaur's or a giant bird's nest. Um, yeah, so you'll see this throughout the forest, and sometimes I make these circles bigger or into. If you've ever seen meditation circles, where you're um, forced to walk slow as opposed to rushing, like you're going somewhere quickly. And so that's what I'm making these in that style. But it's my version, as I do with everything else. I have my version of doing things. Here's another perfect example of how things shouldn't be. There's an apple tree trying to grow here, and next to it there's a white ash, which I like. I should leave. And let me see. There is also a fir growing right next to it, which really shouldn't be. I mean, there's no reason why an evergreen should be that close to an apple tree. If unless in this case, I mean, I don't know if it's okay. Perfect, actually. This size of it, this trunk of this apple tree is a perfect size that of an apple tree that you would want. Only this one's leaning 20% lean. And that's not good, because then it could come down. And furthermore, because it wasn't, this was all before our time, because it wasn't pruned properly. You see how it's branching over there, and that branch, the one on the left, could be dead. I'm not sure, and it's just a mess. It'll choke itself to death if you let it. I mean, some branches up here are already dead. You can see. But when they fall, or if I'm able to catch them and cut them, they're brilliant for firewood and for smoking if you're killing or damaging them. Well, I'm a tree hugger, but I would not hesitate to bring any of these trees down to make the ones that are healthy survive or live or thrive. I mean, you would have to be pretty mean not to. Here's a tree. Here's a good example of how close these trees are that they shouldn't be. One or two trees became one until they divided. And then they're touching again. And then they divide again. I don't know if you can see. No, the sun to blind you. And then they're touching again. And every time they rub against each other because of the wind or whatever, they're the disease is promoted because the jacket, the outer layer that's protecting them, the protecting shell, is rubbed off, and that's disease promoting. And so one of these trees, probably the one on the left, because when it gets up top, it's all crooked and going. Look at that. There you go. See that? That green there? Yeah. So by cutting that one there, and even though it's a maple and I love maples, by cutting that one there, now you're giving the one on the right, the bigger one, the more straight one, a chance to do better and to survive and to thrive. Uh, it all takes a lot of labor and might, really, because it's summertime. You don't have oh, look at this. Oh, the sun's over here. How can I show you? A maple was either somehow brought down by lightning or something, and that's the base of it that I cut. But when you come up, it's gotten hooked on another tree, so that, and then this enormous thing is how many maples? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for coppicing. Now you look at the base of this one, you can see how one split into two, still touching at parts, and then they go up, and that is not good. One of them I gotta get rid of so that the other one can survive. See how this maple branch is peeled off a part of its bark and it's completely hooked on in between a bigger part of the maple. All right, let's go. I gotta keep reminding myself to breathe. Moss. Looks like a hedgehog. And it's so soft. Something really cool and popping. Look at that red maple leaf amongst all this dead branch, just popping. Yeah. And apparently you can't help but feeling less stressed, lower your blood pressure by being in the forest like this, like I am now. And if you can't be here, well, you can just watch this and maybe hopefully vicariously through me lose some stress. This is better than any show, really, honestly, for me. Any show that's on one of those streaming channels or whatever. So this tree is dead and waiting for me to do something with it, and so I can make room for the sun to hit the. Look how dark it is, by the way, folks. I don't know if you can see. Some sun's coming through. I mean, it's not a cloudy day. I'll show you. This is the sun, but forests like the Black Forest. Now I'm realizing that they were called Black Forest because the canopy. Not so much now that the leaves are coming down. If I come down here, come in here this on a summer day when I'm working, and it could be dark in here. Not pitch black, but I mean they're not letting the sun come through, which is not a horrible thing because you keeps the forest cool. Whereas in the city where we used to live, on hot summer days, sun is would be heating the rooftops, the buildings, the black um, asphalt, all this stuff absorbs the heat during the day, and then at night you think, well, the sun's gone, I can get a cool night's sleep, and you can't because the so that stuff, all everything that absorbed that sun is radiating it back out again. Whereas here, the sun is not so permitted to hit the forest floor, and then after 9:30, 10, when the sun sets, and you get this insane coolness and smell of the forest coming through, and the house. I don't know if you can see through all those trees. It's about 100 feet away from here, and so we can really smell it, and it smells really good. If you've ever had the pleasure to, oh, look at this gorgeous, gorgeous dotted maple. You've collected a cluster of maple leaves. I wish, I'm hoping that you can see it, but don't know if you can. This is a work of art, almost like an impressionist painting. Here's more coppicing. You see how there's one piece that I already harvested. And you have to cut them on an angle so the water can slide off of, or else if the water stands on it and can promote disease. Here's my next piece that I would need to be harvesting. See how it's growing crooked? I mean, this will snap off by itself in the wind anyway, because it's not going up straight and it's too spindly as opposed to its sisters. So harvesting that is not a bad thing. Plus, look, the tree in the middle, the biggest one, the two on the right, they're not even maple, and they honestly they should come down in favor of the maples, which I like better. But anyway, yeah, lots of wood for making. There's another whole stand of coppicing maple, like this one over here. If I can get to it, this smaller one. Oh, we have a friend here. Hello. The small one here needs to come down because it's disturbing the one next to it. See that? But it's not just that. Is the disturbance goes all the way up, and so this becomes firewood, and guilt-free firewood. As now, see, I don't have to plant any trees. How many of these examples have I shown you so far? See, I don't have to plant any tree like this, like hardwood trees. They're growing on their own if I train them right. And really, on the forest floor, you get so many shoots, saplings, seedlings, just growing on their own. And they shouldn't be, they're too close. But I give these away in the springtime because they're easier to pull out. Or the bigger ones, so like this one here, it's about a foot tall, maybe for $1. And not to put the nurseries out of business, but we don't. They're too close. There's just too many of them here, and so the trees that we do plant are more like oaks. But other than that, we don't need to plant any trees. Look at the size of these tiny things trying to grow. They're like an inch off the ground. So look at all of these trees that have come down that are waiting for me to process them. And they're guilt-free because I didn't bring them down, even though they were alive. The wind brought them down. And let's just go to the base of one where the roots are showing. And if I can, I'll show you. Look at the base of this one. It's about 3-4 feet, which is big. The lumber yards love these because they can get, especially if they're straight, like this one. They're very valuable to them because they can get many boards out of them, or 2x4s, or 2x6, or 4x4, or 6x6, and then they pay the landowners next to nothing, just like any other farmer, but they sell them to you for a lot of money. So look, so the tree root structures, then there are anchors, as the name suggests, they go straight down, and then there are ones that go to the side. As you can see, this one it's going up, but when it was down, it was going to the side. Naturally, the tree trains itself to have one of its most supportive roots. What was that? Did you hear that? A branch fell or something. Oh, what are you doing there? I see you. Um, what was it? The root. Yeah, the root. It's because the prevailing wind is from the west, so it protects itself by having one of the best um, support behind it. Oh, here's a oak that's trying to grow, and I poked the stick next to it. I was wondering why the stick was down, so that I don't weed whack it or anything when I'm out in the forest or walk on it. Wow, that's about a foot high. Yeah, love it. So a root would come. So if a tree would have a root, one of its biggest root structures behind it, so it would grow in the opposite direction of the prevailing wind. Which, so if the prevailing wind is from the west, the root would be on the east, like a kangaroo would have a tail that they can sit on, kind of thing. The problem is they invest so much in that particular root. Sorry, I just have to show you this little beautiful. Okay, here's a good example. It's a beautiful um, cedar trying to grow, and there's a fir right behind it, and that's way too close. And we know that. Let's see how easily that came out. This is what I give away. Fir, we have millions, the most number of the trees, but cedars are very rare. So now I have to pull that out in favor of this beautiful, healthy cedar. Now that cedar will take many years before you can see how gorgeous. And then look, not far from it, there's another one of those saplings. There's a maple here, so there's no shortage. There's even a tinier one next to this mushroom that I hadn't seen before. See the size of this one. That shouldn't be here either. So anyway, back to that tree. You see why it takes me so long to do a forest walk? Yeah, so it invests so much on the root that's behind it, like a kangaroo tail. So when the wind direction changes to northeastern, then it doesn't have as much support. Not that it doesn't have any support. It doesn't have as much support in a root in front of it. That is to say, in the direction of the wind, like west. So you see how this is fallen west? Yeah, that's the same reason. You'll see many trees. Actually, look here. I don't have to. I'm not making this up. You see, all of these trees are fallen westward. One, two big ones, three, four, and so you can see. And there will be more of them. Every time a tree comes down, the year after, more will come down because, whereas before they had shelter from the wind by each other, standing next to each other. Now some space is opened up, as you can see here, and the wind can go through and push the next weaker one down. Boy, we're gonna have a lot of firewood next year unless I can. Somebody wants to build, and look how straight that is. Like I said, lumberyard love straight because their machines, there's no waste. They can go straight through and cut that into pieces. Oh, here are those beautiful ferns that I always talk about that I love. When they die, they turn into this glorious golden color. I want to say copper, but it's gold, like high carat gold, like 24 karat gold is actually this color. It's not light like you see wrappers or whatever. Those are the 10 or 14 karat golds. But these 24 karat gold is actually a much deeper shade. And the fractal, gorgeous. I can't get enough of it. And I'm thankful for this day. So here's the maple, yet another kind of maple that one of my favorite ones. Remember I showed you the striped one, right? This isn't that. Although it has stripes, it looks like it. This one's actually called moose maple. If you look at the leaves, I'm not going there. I don't want to step on these ferns either. If you look at the leaves, they're in the shape of they're bigger than a maple leaf. And oh, here's an example. There's a red maple leaf past it, and the big, gigantic ones in front of it. Well, they call those moose maple because they're so much bigger in size than a regular maple leaf would. And this is, I didn't even know this was here. I love it. But it has been damaged by something else that had fallen on it and gouged it, but it survived. And there's a shoot here even. Ah, that's the survivor. And trees that have fallen. And okay, so here's another one that you can see at the base. Oh, here's another one of those striped maples. Oh wow! Yeah, that a watermelon color green. You see that? I hope you can. Love it. Beautiful. I just love having anything that's different. It's fine by me. Oh man, more goosebumps. Can you see the goosebumps? Anyway. Okay, so look at the base of this tree. Now, in a survival kind of a camp, shelter, whatever, this is brilliant. This is what you want. This will stop the wind from the west because we're facing west, because like I was explaining earlier, the tree falls in the direction of west because the roots aren't that strong. You can see the roots, how tiny these roots are. For a tree that's that long, I've even cut the front of it off and dragged it out for firewood. This is the 2/3 bottom of it that I couldn't get to. So look at the root structure of it. Where is the anchor? Anchor's probably snapped off because I don't see it. I just see the ones around. And they do have they are a glorious burgundy shade of. This is all. This can all be used as firewood because it's dry and off the ground. I love seeing sort of a behind the scenes of anything. I think you would too. So you could have your shelter there, and all you have to do is cover the rest of it, and that's a natural. It's not gonna fall down. I mean, these trees could, but right next to me here is a maple, so that should be a safe bet that wouldn't fall. And I don't see too many big ones around me that could potentially fall on you if you were taking shelter here. And so because you're below ground, you're sheltered from the wind. This is, I'm talking about winter sort of scenario. And all the firewood you need. You don't have to go gathering anything. This is what I mean. When people do those shows, I don't understand who's trained these people, or if anyone, because I'm looking around me and there's abundance of everything that you need to survive. Only if you only knew, if somebody took the time to teach you. Look at the diameter of this tree that's down. I would say 4 feet. And that's the other thing. When trees grow too close together, they're in a rush to get to the sun. And while as they do that, then they don't have much time or energy left to invest in root structure. So they're weak, even though they could be 100 feet tall. And as you saw, about 4 feet at the base. You can see the roots, right? I'm trying to get an angle of the roots. One on the right, one at 3 o'clock, one at 1 o'clock, and one at 10 o'clock, right? Is that showing you? And they're pretty big, but still they didn't go down enough to grip onto the soil to make them not fall. There's a maple and a fir growing side by side, only inches away, and they shouldn't be. There it is. This tree is about 3 feet or so in diameter, and still not an old growth. This is not even, I don't think, 100 years old, maybe 50 years old. Softwoods grow faster, much faster than hardwoods do. So this is, I don't know. Let me just check. See, I mean, if you're desperate, you can use this for firewood. Oh, this is brilliant. It's not spongy or dowdy. It's super dry. This is when doing bushcraft, survival, whatever workshops. This is a kind of wood that you can burn. It's off the ground. It's dry. It will even if it's on a rainy day, this will burn nicely. But this offers more than just firewood. If you look at it, you see it's because the branches that are sticking right into the ground, and when they fall, they almost like spears skewer the ground, go right into the ground, and it's solid. It's not going anywhere. So then that can become a shelter to make like a. It almost has the same shape of a tent. You see that? I hope it's visible. And so any of these dead branches that are standing are perfect for firewood because they will always be dry. Actually, that's another dead tree I'm going up, and I see that it has completely died. And so all of these trees shouldn't be, and the one next to it, the skinnier one that's curved on the right, all of these trees shouldn't be up, and they should either naturally be falling down to become food for the more hardwood trees, or we should. I mean, if I had the means, I would cut them down and mill them, as in making boards out of them for projects. Um, See, here's a tree that I started this summer. It was down, and I started to segment it. I don't know if you can see these lines with a chainsaw to come back later and harvest it, but I must have run out of battery or juice in myself. It's a lot of work to carry this from, even though we're only 50, 100 feet away from the main building. This stuff is heavy to carry around. Now that I've made those cuts, maybe they'll dry faster for next year, and I'll come back next year and harvest it. But still takes a long time to drag things out of the forest and go there. So here's I do whimsical things throughout the forest. Here's a tree, is a white ash that another tree had forced down, probably this one because of its big branches, and forced down. And so what I'm trying to do is cut down the branches that would have been under it, and so the shoots can only go up. This one's broken, that's why it's falling down. But so that the shoots can go up, and then that becomes almost like a living fence or something whimsical to look at. Look, I'm actually seeing a lot of white ashes. I love it. I love knowing that where other places ashes aren't surviving because of the emerald. I think it's called emerald ash beetle. We have them, and they're surviving here. We also don't look. There's a dead white ash here, but I'm saving it because I want to make a sort of a wizard's staff out of it. But I've never had a chance because when I come out in the forest and I'm working, I got so much to do that like, oh, I got to remember to make a mental note to go back and do, but then I'll never remember because I have so much to do. And this is actually odd for me to be standing here talking to you, with this camera. Look at how many trees are growing here. And in there's a maple, there are three ashes, two maples, And really just the hardwood should be here, and even the ash and maples are competing. They shouldn't all be here. Actually, one's not a maple, it's a, now look here. First of all, while we're here, something probably lives there under that dead decaying base of a tree. Now look here, this is what I discovered this a few years ago when I was planting trees. The best way to plant trees, folks, is actually not to plant them. Because when you plant a tree, you just don't know if you're gonna dig a hole twice as deep, twice as wide as its diameter, at its base. And then you plant it, you water it, maybe you add goodies to the soil to make it grow. But while you're doing that, you never really know if it's gonna take or if it's gonna make it, because deer or whatever can go eat it. Bunnies can go eat the tender shoots as it's just growing, and that's all damage. It'll kill it now before it's had a chance to root. Now this guy here, this is what I call coppicing. I discovered this a few years ago when I had to cut down a maple tree. I was devastated. I had to cut it down, and when I cut it down, it started to have shoots. I'll show you. This is a shoot. This is a bigger shoot. And really, so is this 3-inch diameter shoot. So the one behind it and behind it. So this was at one time a tree. So you see how this one branch is gone? So I will come back. I'll show you many examples of this. I come back every year, because you also need hardwood in addition to softwood. And if where this branch was growing on an angle, 40-degree angle or whatever, I cut it and I used it, and now I made more space for the sun to come, to air to move, and the next time I need hardwood, I will cut the middle one, because even though it looks like it's in the middle and it's doing well, it's actually too close to the one on its right. Then by that time, these tiny shoots would have gotten bigger and bigger. So you always have a supply of hardwood, if you need it for whatever reason, available. And I will show you so many examples of this, and this is brilliant. Okay, yeah, so I don't have to plant a tree because the root, the base is solid and what's the word I'm looking for? Um, Established. So for as long as the root's not getting damaged, then the tree will have shoots and regenerate. This is brilliant. It's brilliant how nature's figured this out. More woodpecker. I just love woodpeckers. They have so many different songs, and you sound like they're monkeys in the rainforest. I don't know. You see how they go straight up on a more or less straight line? Love it. If you want to see what a tree looks like, crosscut these lines, or where the ants and whatever termites maybe live, and pine cone, or just a cone. This isn't a pine. You don't really, on our property, we don't really have many pines. It's fine. Just commenting. So, going for a walk, and I'll do this till the battery dies, which is not much longer. You see how long we've already been here? I can't tell. This for some reason this keeps restarting every 5 minutes. I don't know why. Oh, so sometimes when I get trees that I can't use for firewood, like these would have been brilliant for someone making log cabins, because look how straight they are, and the size is right, and all around me I have so many of those that need to come down for the house's solar panels are directly behind me, and these are tall enough that in the winter, because of the angle of the sun, the solar panels could get shaded by all these trees. So if these all come down, and this is actually a very, really beautiful spot to have a log cabin. I wouldn't even mind allowing someone to build their log cabin here if one day I'll talk about land share. But here's another brilliant example of the coppicing that I was talking about with the previous maple. Look at how many maples are growing here. Just count together, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6. I see 6 little trees trying to grow here where there should only be one if you want them to grow optimally. Now, I could come down next time and cut the one that's going on an angle, the thin one. But if you look closely, there's a shoot that's going more straight next to it. And there's one off to the side. And then next time, I'll cut the one that's going on an angle more, it's closest to me. And just keeping the straightest one, the healthiest one, standing. And as I do that, every year a new shoot comes up, and it'll grow to, I don't know, many feet, maybe 4 feet a year. And so let them be, as the tree regenerating itself, let them grow up, and then I'll come back each year after to harvest what I need to. And so, yeah, that's what I was saying. So the trees that I don't need, they're where is it? They're on their way, getting too dowdy. I try to put them in the dips in the on the forest floor as we walk, so that you don't just all of a sudden you're looking up like I always am, and then all of a sudden you fall into this dip. Now these dips are brilliant if you're ever making a shelter. So when you can put your fire pit in there, but while that's not happening, then I put the rotten or rotting logs in there, and then because it's a lower point, which would probably mean that more water gathers there, and water and moisture are uh, number one reason for decaying um, anything. And I also love ferns. They haven't died here yet for me to show you. I just love ferns, and they're one of the oldest plants ever. I mean, look at how beautiful, and there's a fractal. The fractal alone factor of it is interesting enough for me to love them. I just wanted to show you this. I saw it from the corner of my eye. This big, even bigger white birch on our property line. Whose is it? Ours or our neighbors? I don't know. Oh, it's actually could be at both of ours. See that orange paint? And it's on this tree too. So let's not bring that. That has a diameter of maybe 5 feet. It's insane. You rarely find them this big around here, and it's still alive. And not, I mean, it would do better if this the next door um, fir wasn't here, because it could have it all to itself. And also, there's a dead white birch to the left, and there's other trees around it. All of these, if those ones, all of these ones around it weren't here, this would have been even bigger and mightier. So this is what I mean. I don't, when I first moved here, I didn't want to bring down a single tree until I learned about forest management and how you can see I'm making, so I call these brush walls. And these brush walls are made out of, you can call them forest, frost walls. But here are some trees that came down this fall or winter, and you can see I was getting them ready to move to the back, but I just ran out of time. There's so much to do. And thankfully that's on our side, because you see the brush walls that I made. I'm trying to make a fence to divide our property line with our neighbor. Our neighbor is nice, young Dutch guy, farmer, but he doesn't use his land for anything. His 100 acres of bordering ours, and he just bought it as investment. He's a cattle farmer up the road, so this is just one of his properties. So anyway, these trees came down. I couldn't do anything with them because they're just too far and too heavy to drag, and I don't have any machinery. Oh, here's something really interesting that I love. This, you see this thin bark, green light green, dark green. It's called striped maple, and it's a gorgeous maple. I mean, we all know maple, but here's a regular maple next to it. But these are very rare here. I think around the house I've only seen not even a handful. So we continue walking. Now we're headed west. If you could smell the smell of the forest at this time of the year, the air is so clear. I mean, we don't get. Ooh, I know. Coming, you ever come here and we go for a walk? We don't get far. I'm always interested and excited by everything. So there's a little family of mushrooms down there. I don't know if they're edible. I'm not into foraging them, but not that I don't want to learn. But um, for those who are, some of you are probably looking at this and immediately naming them. Maybe you have them on your property, or you're salivating to know that, oh my God, if I only had access. But I'll tell you one thing, I don't, I can't imagine anybody not loving looking at them. And it goes, there's a small baby one. You can see how it grew by those lines. It's almost like um, it is dead, definitely. Look, it has even no branches. Not even has no leaves. It's lost all of its branches as well. And they're probably all around here where I've been collecting them, making them into these circles. Oh yeah, sometimes I put the dead and decaying law. I cut them into like a whatever, like a stump looking things, and I just set them around just for whimsical factor. Again, these are completely hollow. Hey, by the way, you can see the construction of it on the inside. That's how a branch grows. You see that? Starts from there and it works its way out, and those become knots when you're buying boards, and that's what most people don't want, but not for me. I love seeing those knots. The more of them, the better. Here's a tree that came down 3 years ago or so, but because it was so big and I didn't have a chainsaw at the time. You know, everything costs money. It's not just the chainsaw. You gotta to maintain it. The chains, you gotta change the chains every, I don't know, week or two, depending on how much you use it. And I use it a lot, and so I couldn't do anything with it, unfortunately. It's not complete. It's not completely useless because I'll show you why. It's off the ground by about a foot, so that keeps the moisture off. So it can still be harvested for firewood. Like I said, when if, in workshops for survival or camping or whatever, this could easily be practiced uh, to to cut it into pieces that you like, and use it as firewood. And by the way, when you see these shows, there was a recently, I just people tell me about, there's a show called there was a show called sorry, Last One Standing or Outlast. That's it. And on this show, I don't like these shows because they throw people of whatever background, military and a physician maybe, or a lawyer, or whatever. And then, but the fact is that they give them nothing to survive on or with. And that's not good. I mean, how often are you in a situation or a scenario where you have nothing on you? And that's not right. Um, Here, if I'm training people, I have, I'm, if people have never really done this truly with no tools. I mean, people talk about survival bags and bug out bags, and they have all these fancy knives and clothes and filtration. Yeah, that sounds more like it, and that's where people should start from. And once you've mastered that, then you can do a sort of a you can get thrown out in the wild with nothing on you and be a ranger or whatever. But not until you know what the heck you're doing. And here's a tree that's fallen atop of one of these trees, and it's gotten hooked on many trees, and it's killed. It's a beech, I believe. All right, so let's keep seeing. And then some trees fall down. I don't mind. I love seeing the moss on them. I leave these because I just love moss and this look of an old forest look. And this is so soft. Moss don't have roots, and this is why when you see those of you who watch I don't know, bushcraft videos, people putting them on their roofs, they grow like a carpet, and so it's like I don't want to disturb it now, but if I ever needed it to use it as a roof material, we have so much of it here, that would be easy to do. Here is a cedar, which is much revered around here, and it smells so good, that another tree had brought down, but it wasn't dead. So if you can see from the right bottom of your uh, of your page, I guess, two branches have turned themselves into trees. They're going straight up, and they're about 30 feet tall. Another branch on the side is trying to wiggle its way up. Another branch right here is even bigger than the first two, and it's going up to about the same height. See, it all happened at the same time. Stories that the forest can tell you. But the fallen tree continues finally here, and it's going up at the very tip of it. Instead of it being growing straight, it's found a way to get to the sun. So it's insane to me. I love seeing these things. I love sharing this with you. It's very emotional for me to tell stories like this and see. I'm not very articulate, as you can tell, but I apologize for that. But I mean, you have to experience this. I'm telling you this, and I got goosebumps. Actually, I'll show you my goosebumps. Just telling you, I'm not making this stuff. Oh, there are a couple of big cedars there, more than a couple. Wow, and cedars are really by the native, um, but not just that. Cedars are good for. I mean, they last long. They can be in water for long. They can handle moisture. There's three big ones here, and you might think that they don't look that big, but they take to get that size. They probably take 80 years, and that's a long time. Um, and this is why they're so important that we leave them around and not cut them. We're at the edge of our property line. You can tell because when the surveyors come, they use orange paint to mark it. Thankfully, that yellow birch is ours. It's within our property line. Yay! Look at the size of that one. I'll see if I can. Oh, the sun's over there. How can I show you this without blinding you? Well, I hope you can see it. So it's about 100 feet tall, and at the base it's about 3-4 feet in diameter. And golden birch or yellow birch, well, known for, see, these branches are down from it because it's got a golden sheen to it. You can tell from way up top. So every spring and fall, or really any chance I get, I gotta come out here and pick these branches up off the ground. So when we walk, see, it's the property line. So that when we go for our nature walks, however often we don't, we're able to. Here is a white birch that's fallen down, and now I think it's safe to do so. But sometimes wasps can be nesting in there. So, but they're brilliant to start a fire. It catches on like you wouldn't believe. And again, for those folks interested in more of that moss, bushcraft style, quick emergency shelter kind of thing. This is what you need to light your fire. You can have your bow drill and all that, but this stuff, and I'm trying to keep it off the ground. But look how much of it nature provides, folks. And then in the springtime, woodpeckers peck at it to drink more of that beautiful moss on this fir. By the way, while I'm here, let me show you something about this fir. This is why I never get far when I'm in the forest. Firs have these pockets of, I don't want to call it pus, but this is, by the way, what they get turpentine out of. Boy, this is not a good example of it because it's at this time of year, and I also want to get the sunlight. So, where am I? See this here? It's like a little pocket of, well, maybe you can see. And if you press it, it'll pop right out. That is sap, and that is what you make turpentine out of. But, oh, here's a beautiful example of it. You see that? Now, however number of millions of years ago, when something like that happened, either a tree fell on one or bruise or something, it's natural way of, and then you can, by the way, the natives use that if you get a gouge as you're walking in the forest. The forest doesn't look like this as you see it. There are many branches sticking out, like that fallen tree over there, and it's almost impossible to walk. This forest anyway, I don't know about other forests, but that's why I've been clearing all these branches and pathways. And so if you got a gouge, you could poke one of these. Here's a better example of it. I hope I'm not disturbing you. Sorry, tree, if I'm disturbing you. Oh yeah, that's a better example. Can you see that? Okay, if I poke it, and sometimes it goes, like Newton's law of third law, for every action is an equal and opposite reaction. That's just a shadow of this guy here, or that guy. Let's get rid of that one. Okay, now you can see this sort of a pouch. If I poke it, it'll ooze out. Oop, you see it? It poked right out. Well, thankfully it didn't get me. So then, and if an insect goes on it or something, it gets caught on it, and guess what? That becomes amber. And that's where amber comes from. This one has many of those pouches. So like I said, nature provides. So you get a gouge, you put that on, and it completely seals the wound. Look at the base of this yellow birch. Pretty wide, pretty decent, and gorgeous, gorgeous roots. And this is what I tell some people when we go for a walk, because, there's a liability. You're in the forest, folks. There's going to be roots sticking out. You're going to maybe trip over. This is not downtown Manhattan, although it's not safe over there either. Look at the color of this golden birch. Isn't it gorgeous? This isn't AI, folks. This is all me, all my inarticulation. Is that a word? And I hope you can appreciate what you're looking at. But it's not the same. It's really not the same as being here. I encourage you to, if you get a chance, if you know someone that has a bit of woodland, go have a look. Go for a walk. We share ours as much as we can. I mean, obviously we don't want to have too many people coming through because to disturb, but There's a mushroom that was growing on that white birch, and that mushroom, again, these bushcraft survival folks carry that, dry that, and carry it with them in their pouch, and that when you light it, even a little bit of it, it stays lit for a long time. And so you have, on a rainy day, on a wet rainy day, that provides you with, ah, see this tree here is dead. And it's dead. One reason why it's dead, and one reason why it's in patches like that, is bark there, no bark there, bark there, no bark there. So porcupines, that's porcupine's main diet, I guess, and in particular spruce. But so that's when they take the bark off like that, it dies. Again, this becomes a guilt-free firewood or whatever project. But look at the worms that were under the bark growing, unbeknownst. Like all of these trees could have these little worms and worm paths, and aren't they brilliant that somebody, it's as if someone drew these, and sometimes that's what the woodpeckers look for when they're pecking and the larvae of those worms. Uh, Beautiful moss. Tell me as I'm, leave comments. Let me know what it is of what I'm doing you like to see more of or less of. Here's a big tree that, although it still has its branches and looking fine way up top and green, as I come down the trunk of it, you will see a beginning of these mushroom formations, and then you see that fracture there. You see that fracture is about, well, it's about 4 feet long, goes all the way down the tree to the base of it, and on a stormy day, this tree sways back and forth until it falls. And this is, I can just see this tree coming down pretty soon. Because not only is it dead and stiff, it's got this fracture. It doesn't help. Oh, there's a spruce tree that a woodpecker has been visiting. Can you see the holes that it's been poked at? If that's not enough evidence for you, let's go down. Let's go down it. It goes as low as that. Of course, it doesn't like to be this low to the ground, because as it's doing this, it makes itself vulnerable to uh, predators that could catch it, because it's busy pecking. And look at this sap that's come out as a result. There's a lot of sap, and smells great. But if you get it on your clothes, it makes it look like you're wearing dirty clothes, because it collects dirt and you can't wash it. And that's why my family doesn't like me walking around with those clothes, even when we go for walks outside of the property, because it looks like uh, I'm wearing dirty clothes. So that spruce is on its way down, because the woodpeckers has indicated that now there's things living in it, which is fine, because if I move over a little bit, you'll see a decent sized maple trying to grow. You see it now. So now once these two trees, because this one's dead too, you can see once these two trees are down, the maple behind it will get a chance to grow. And meanwhile, this tree will be brilliant for projects, many projects. Our woodpecker friend's been visiting many trees here, so I can just see that within the next year or two, many trees are going to be coming down here. Wow, how far in has he gone? I love it. Yeah, another dead one. So when all these trees come down, the maples behind them, you can see they're in their glorious orange leaves. They will get more sun and they'll grow better. Now, how to get past this? Let's just not trip over anything. Now, whoop. Um, here's one that the wind twisted. You can see the twist, right? It twisted and it's got hooked on many other trees that you see what I mean by having too many trees up that are too close? Hey, hey you. Hello. I'm too close to your nest. Okay. Okay, okay. I'll leave you. Okay, don't panic. Don't panic. Okay. Okay, okay. Go ahead. Okay, I'll go this way. Go home. I'll keep moving. Um, let's not disturb the peace. Maybe I was too loud. This is another big one with like something like a 3 feet diameter. Now you can see inside of it. If you've ever wanted to see. Hello. I'm not there. Am I getting close? Okay, 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 okay. Just curious. Okay, okay, okay. All right, all right, all right. Okay. I'll leave you. Maybe I'm near its babies or something. All right. Okay. Still following me to make sure that I'm not gonna. All right. Do anything. Sorry, folks. I had to leave you there. And by the way, my battery's probably going to die, if not dead already. Am I still recording? It's showing that I'm still recording, but it's showing the battery's completely red. Anyway, just in case it is recording, let's just go a little bit farther and then actually, you know what? Let's just walk back towards the house and I'll come back another day and I will shoot maybe later on today once I've charged the battery just to show you more. Here's a dead fallen tree that I've left alone. Right now, folks, as I'm talking to you, I hear a single tree falling down. And it's so quiet and peaceful and tranquil here. And this is what our forest walks are about. Just to get away from the noise of the city, the cars, the buses, the sirens, all of that. Let's go home and plug this thing in and maybe I'll have a backup battery. Hmm. Something's poop. Is it a raccoon? Don't know. One thing we don't think about is that birds, and there's so many of them, millions of birds, they're constantly pooping and peeing. Peeing and pooping for them is one, just like chickens. Well, this forest is constantly being fertilized. But because we never see it, really, we don't think of it as that. Um, we're going past our. You see? Oh, is it dead? Oh, it's still recording. Compost. These are our compost bins. I'll show you another time when I have more battery about the construction of it. And these are gorgeous, like eggplant shape and color. Trying to get a good angle. Comfrey flowers that hummingbirds love here. All right. Look at these colors. I don't know how vivid this thing's showing. I haven't actually tested it. Or look at that maple in the background against the blue sky. Feels good to share. Well, folks, thanks for coming. A little walkabout of the. Well, we only. I don't know how many hours this recorded, but we only walked the south side, not even all of the south side. You see how it takes me to do anything here? Life in the slow lane, though. Life in the slow lane. Slow lane. Okay, let's go inside and come charge the battery. Maybe I'll get to show you more later today. Bye for now.